first, everything feels perfect. The words are sweet. The attention is intoxicating. You tell yourself, this is what love is supposed to feel like. But then, slowly, something changes. You start questioning your memory. You start feeling guilty for things you didn't even do. And somehow, the person who once made you feel safe now makes you feel small, trapped, invisible. This isn't just a bad phase. This is emotional abuse, and the scariest part, it often starts so quietly, so cleverly, that you don't even notice it's happening until you've already lost yourself. In this video, we'll expose the early red flags, the subtle signs most people ignore until it's too late. If you've ever felt confused, anxious, or constantly walking on eggshells in your relationship, this isn't just in your head. And by the end of this video, you'll see the truth for what it is. And maybe, for the first time in a long time, you'll finally feel seen. Don't skip a second, because this could be the wake-up call someone desperately needs. Emotional abuse rarely shows up with screaming or fists in the beginning. It enters quietly, like a whisper in the dark, like poison in a glass of water. One of the earliest signs is constant criticism, but not the loud, obvious kind. It's the disguised kind, the kind that comes wrapped in concern. I'm just trying to help you. I just want you to be better. You're too sensitive. These words don't hit you all at once. They drip into your mind over time, slowly reshaping how you see yourself. You begin to doubt your looks because they make offhand comments like, "You'd be prettier if you lost a little weight." You start changing your clothes because they said that dress was too revealing or not classy enough. They chip away at your choices, your voice, your confidence, and they do it with a smile on their face and the illusion of love in their voice. That's what makes it so dangerous. They make you believe they're right, that you're broken, that they're doing you a favor by fixing you. And once that seed is planted, it grows fast, like a weed choking the life out of everything good in you. What makes this kind of criticism so hard to detect is the way it's dressed up as care. They don't scream, "You're worthless," directly. No, that would be too obvious. Instead, they serve it in smaller doses. "Are you really going to wear that? You sound kind of dumb when you talk about that topic. That idea you had was cute, but I don't think it'll work." Every comment feels like a paper cut. Small. Easy to ignore at first, but eventually you're bleeding. Internally, emotionally. You start editing yourself before you speak. You hesitate to share your opinions because you're scared they'll shut you down or mock you. You smile through the pain, convincing yourself they just want the best for you. You don't even realize it's abuse because they're not shouting. They're just being honest, right? But honesty without kindness is cruelty. And when someone is constantly tearing you down under the mask of love, that's not love, it's manipulation. You're being trained to seek their approval, to crave their validation because they've made you feel like you're not enough on your own. And here's the harshest part. They often target the things you're most insecure about because that's where you're most vulnerable. They'll pretend they're helping you improve while actually breaking you down, piece by piece. This creates a dependency. You start relying on their opinions to define your worth. You feel like you're always falling short, never quite good enough, but instead of blaming them, you blame yourself. You start thinking, maybe I really do need to change. Maybe I'm too emotional. Maybe I'm lucky they even put up with me. This is not self-awareness, it's conditioning. It's mental sabotage disguised as love. The goal isn't to support you, it's to weaken you so they can control you. The moment someone constantly criticizes you and makes you feel small while calling it love, that's not love, it's emotional abuse. And if any part of this sounds familiar, you're not crazy. You're not weak. You're being hurt. And it's time to wake the fuck up and see it for what it is. Gaslighting is one of the most dangerous weapons of emotional abuse. And the scariest part, you often don't even realize it's happening until you've already started questioning your own sanity. This isn't just lying, it's psychological warfare. The abuser doesn't just deny the truth, they rewrite it. They make you doubt the things you've seen, heard, and felt. You catch them in a lie, and they say, "You're imagining things." You bring up something that hurt you, and they say, "You're too sensitive." You try to express yourself, and they laugh, roll their eyes, or completely dismiss you. And slowly, you stop trusting yourself. You start thinking you're the problem. You wonder, did I really overreact? Maybe I am being dramatic. Maybe I misheard. But you didn't. You're being manipulated, twisted, emotionally suffocated with subtlety. They're flipping your reality upside down and convincing you that you're the one at fault. That's gaslighting. And it's abuse, plain and simple. The longer it goes on, the more lost you become. You can't tell what's real anymore. You find yourself apologizing for things you never did. You feel anxious all the time, even when they're not around. You start second-guessing your memory, your reactions, your instincts, and that's exactly what they want. Because once you stop trusting your own mind, they gain total control. They become your truth, your compass, your anchor, but that anchor is dragging you down. You live in a state of confusion, constantly off balance, emotionally drained, and scared to speak up because they always have a way of turning it around on you. You begin to shrink, not physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You're being erased from the inside out, all while they act like everything is fine, like they're the calm one and you're the unstable one. It's evil disguised as logic, abuse dressed up as rationality. If someone constantly makes you feel like your version of events is wrong, if they rewrite your truth every time you speak it, that's not love, that's control, that's gaslighting. And the sooner you recognize it, the sooner you can start taking your truth and your power back. One of the most manipulative tactics of emotional abuse is isolation, and it never starts loud. It doesn't begin with "don't see your friends" or "stop talking to your family." No, it starts quietly, subtly. The abuser will say things like, "I don't like the way your friend looks at you," or "your family doesn't really care about you the way I do." At first, it might seem like they're just protective, that they love you so much, they want all your time, and it feels flattering for a second. But soon, that protectiveness turns possessive. They start guilt-tripping you for spending time with others. They'll say you don't care about them if you choose to go out without them. Or worse, they create drama around every relationship you have so it becomes exhausting to keep anyone in your life. And without realizing it, your world starts to shrink. You stop reaching out to friends because you don't want to deal with their jealousy. You stop visiting your family because you're tired of the arguments it causes. You isolate yourself to keep the peace. But peace built on isolation isn't peace, it's control. The more isolated you become, the more dependent you are on them, and that's exactly what they want. They want to be the only voice you hear, the only perspective you trust, the only emotional connection you have left. Once you're cut off from your support system, there's no one to validate your feelings, no one to say, "Hey, this isn't normal." And that's when the abuse escalates, because they know you have nowhere else to go, no one to turn to. They become your entire emotional ecosystem, and they rule it with manipulation, guilt, and fear. They feed you the lie that no one else will love you, that you're too damaged, too dramatic, too hard to be around. And when you finally believe it, they win, because now you're trapped. And what's terrifying is how common this is. How many people are slowly cut off from their loved ones without even realizing it's happening. If you find yourself lying to your friends about your relationship, making excuses for your partner's behavior, avoiding calls or visits because it might upset them, that's not love. That's emotional captivity disguised as commitment. And if you feel like your circle is getting smaller every day, take a hard look, because isolation is not an accident. It's a strategy, a silent one, and it's killing your connection to the life and people you once loved. Control doesn't always look like shouting or locking you inside a room. Sometimes it wears a smile and calls itself love. It starts with little things, harmless things, it seems. I just don't like when you wear that. Why do you talk to them so much? Tell me where you are so I know you're safe. At first, it feels sweet. They care about you, right? They're just worried. But over time, the list of what makes them uncomfortable starts to grow. Suddenly, you're changing your clothes, your hairstyle, your friendships, your decisions, not because you want to, but because you're afraid of disappointing them, afraid of the silent treatment, afraid of the guilt trip. This isn't love. This is a slow erosion of your freedom, of your independence, of your identity. Real love doesn't cage you. It doesn't monitor your phone, your schedule, or your choices under the disguise of care. It lets you be who you are, not who they want to mold you into. The scariest part is how easily you can mistake this control for affection. They'll say, I just want what's best for you, or I can't help being protective, it's because I love you. But love doesn't manipulate. Love doesn't demand obedience. That's not protection, it's possession. The goal isn't your happiness, it's their comfort, their dominance, their power. And if you challenge it, if you push back even a little, you'll see the real face behind the fake love. Suddenly, you're the selfish one, the cold one. You don't care about me anymore. It flips so fast you're left spinning, wondering if you were wrong to want space, to want control over your own life. That confusion is the trap. You start compromising pieces of yourself to keep the peace. But soon, there's nothing left to give because you've handed over everything just to avoid conflict. If your partner makes you feel guilty for having boundaries, for saying no, for making choices that don't revolve around them, that's not devotion, it's domination. Real love lifts you up. It never chains you down. And if you feel like you're being monitored, managed, or manipulated, don't you dare call it love. It's control and it's toxic as hell. Shakas, let me know when you're ready for Keynote 5, or if you want this turned into a script for voiceover, ideogram visuals, or an Instagram caption for promoting your message. We're not just creating content, we're creating awareness that could save someone's life. Not all abuse is loud. Sometimes it's painfully silent. One of the most overlooked but deeply damaging signs of emotional abuse is passive aggression, especially the silent treatment. You know that feeling when something's clearly wrong, but they refuse to say a word. They shut down, give you cold stares, leave your messages on read, and act like your existence doesn't matter. It's not just silence, it's a punishment, and it works. It makes you question what you did wrong, even if you did nothing at all. You start tiptoeing around their moods, replaying every conversation, trying to fix something you didn't even break. This kind of emotional game isn't miscommunication, it's manipulation. They're not just cooling off, they're controlling the emotional temperature of the entire relationship. They know their silence hurts you, they know it puts you on edge, and that's exactly why they use it. To create power imbalance, to make you beg for resolution, even when they're the one causing the chaos. And it doesn't stop at silence. Passive aggression comes in many forms. Sarcastic comments, backhanded compliments, guilt-tripping, subtle digs wrapped in humor. Things like, oh, I guess you're too busy for me now. Or, must be nice to not care like I do. These aren't jokes. They're emotional stabs that leave marks even when they don't raise their voice. Over time, you begin to feel like you're always in the wrong, like you're walking on emotional landmines every day. And the worst part, when you finally speak up, they gaslight you again. You're too sensitive. I was just kidding. They flip the blame and make you feel guilty for even noticing the abuse. This cycle is exhausting. It chips away at your self-worth until you no longer know what a healthy conversation even looks like. Real love doesn't punish with silence. Real love doesn't guilt trip you into obedience. If someone constantly withholds communication, affection, or emotional safety until you fall in line, that's not love, that's manipulation, that's control, That's emotional abuse, and it's time to stop pretending it's normal. If you feel like you can't say what's really on your mind, if you rehearse your words before speaking, if your heart races every time you bring up something that bothers you, then you're not in a relationship. You're in a war zone. Walking on eggshells is one of the clearest signs of emotional abuse. It's the constant tension, the quiet fear, the unspoken rule that you can't be fully yourself without triggering anger, guilt, or cold silence. You stop expressing how you feel, not because you don't have emotions, but because you're scared of their reaction, scared of the mood swings, the judgment, the passive-aggressive backlash. So you adapt, you shrink, you choose silence over honesty just to keep the peace. But peace that requires self-erasure is not peace, it's emotional imprisonment. Every time you swallow your truth to protect their ego, a piece of you disappears. You begin to lose your voice, your identity, your sense of worth, until one day you don't even recognize the person looking back at you in the mirror. This is how emotional abuse traps you, not with chains, but with fear. Not fear of violence, but fear of disapproval, fear of abandonment, fear of always being the one to ruin the moment. And so you become a master at emotional surveillance, always reading their body language, their tone, their breathing. You scan the air for signs of tension like you're diffusing a bomb, but no one should live like that. That's not love, that's survival. And the saddest part, you begin to think it's normal. You convince yourself this is just how relationships are, that maybe you're just too emotional or too demanding. But no, real love doesn't feel like fear. Real love doesn't make you walk on eggshells. It gives you the safety to walk freely, speak honestly, and breathe fully. If you're constantly worried about how your partner will react to your feelings, your boundaries, or your truth, then it's time to face the painful reality. You're not overreacting. You're reacting to an environment that is emotionally unsafe. And the longer you stay silent, the deeper you sink into the lie that you deserve this. But you don't. You never did.